So I remember I was crying in the car, very upset, learned about what gender was for the first time at 9. And you know what, Angela, you can prove them right and just quit and sulk in your sadness. If you're the best player on the ice next year, they can't not take you.
The most impressive thing about Angela Ruggiero might be that winning Olympic gold at 18 is only the beginning of her story.
We lost the gold medal in 2002. We were 33-0 that year. We lost when we should have won because we couldn't come together as a team.
She was the youngest player on Team USA the first time women's hockey was ever in the Olympics. And then she kept going. 4 Olympics, 14 medals, Hockey Hall of Famer, Harvard MBA. And then she saw multi-million-dollar decisions being made on a gut feeling.
There's a market for women's sports. This was 6 years ago, and we see Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, which I invested in 2022, and everyone's like, how'd you get into that deal? And I'm like,
So what's the hardest business decision you've had to make?
living through the pandemic when we lost almost every customer we had, it was almost like our backs were against the wall, but we created something that could elevate our company and our brand and get us into rooms we didn't belong in.
What was your biggest failure as an athlete? And then how did that shape how you handle failure in business?
Ooh, this is a good one.
She's one of the most powerful voices in women's sports right now. Angela, welcome to Business MVP.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for joining. So I want to start from the beginning. So when you were 9 years old, you got cut from a boys hockey team,
Yep.
and your father gave you some advice that changed everything. What did he tell you?
Yeah, I remember my brother and I tried out for this team. It was like a travel team that got to go to Canada, and I was probably the 3rd or 4th best player on the ice, and ended up not making the team, basically because I was a girl, and my brother got to go. So I remember I was crying in the car, very upset. Learned about what gender was for the first time at 9, and
Right.
he's like, you know what, Angela, you can prove them right and just like quit and sulk in your sadness and
Right.
prove them wrong. And he's like, you know what? If you're the best player on the ice next year, they can't not take you. And so he basically helped me see that there are 2 paths you can take when disappointment hits or roadblocks or discrimination. And it was such an important lesson because I obviously chose to say, like, I'm going to be the best next year, Dad, and prove him wrong. And so I always had this like chip on my shoulder growing up. Like I would prove I was belonged on the ice as the only girl in California at my age division. I made the national team 6 years later, literally, because of that focus and determination and kind of, I wasn't going through the motions. So it was just a good lesson of like, discrimination's going to hit you or roadblocks, and you always have a choice. And hopefully, and thankfully, he gave me those choices, and I took the right one.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Did you
Yeah.
make the team the next year?
I decided not to try out for it, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
I was kind of like, "Ugh." I don't want to play
Right.
for you anyway. But I played for the boys team that like brought me in, and the coach Scott Plumer, who was my coach, was just great, and I was just in a good situation. But I did practice and play against the other team, so that was when that that meanness came out.
I love it. I love it. So I kind of want to start like at where you were at the top, and then we'll get into some of the different things that you've done. So it's pretty amazing, right? To win gold at 18, first ever women's hockey at the Olympics. And for most people, you would think like that's the pinnacle, right? That's the goal. You've gotten to that goal at 18 though, right? It's a question that so many entrepreneurs face too. Like what happens after you've already won the biggest thing, or you've already achieved this massive goal that you didn't even think was attainable? So how did you stay motivated to keep going after that?
I've thought about this a lot recently because I feel like I'm chasing goals. I'm chasing the dream. I'm manifesting. Can I stop? Like, I think I just enjoy, honestly, the journey because
Uh-huh.
winning the gold, selling the company, getting the position, the achievement of the thing to me has never been, yes, of course, I loved seeing my flag being raised and having an Olympic gold medal and doing that with my team and all those, the most amazing
Right.
athletic point in my life. But I wanted to do it again. I was chasing it again, but I loved what I was doing. So I was motivated to do it again and have that same feeling. And I honestly played 16 years on the national team. When I stopped having that love for the journey is when I felt that inside is when I stepped away from the game, when I retired. And I was still good enough to play, but I didn't have that like internal drive that I knew was required to be successful. So Yeah, it was like, "Oh my god, I did it all at 18. I got into Harvard and I'm still in
Right.
school. This is insane."
Yeah, I
But it was
can't even
like, "But I
imagine.
wanna do that
Yeah.
again, and I wanna have more of an impact for my team, and I wanna be more of a contributor to our success." And that was, I guess, the motivating factor, the love of what I was doing itself.
Yeah, that's a good point. I love that. So we said, youngest player on the 1998 Olympic team, won gold. And then I think you went on to compete in 4 more Olympics, 14 medals, Hockey Hall of Fame. So what did competing at that level for that long build in you that translated directly into business, I guess?
I think everything. I'm a huge proponent of boys and girls playing sports because I think you learn teamwork, you learn grit, you learn determination, you learn goal setting, you learn micro habits. I mean, my job was to be a better version of myself each and every day and to be a part and to be in a team setting where, well, maybe that's helping someone else, not just myself. Maybe that's, um, you know, being a part of something bigger than just me. But all of those skills to me directly, I think every athlete should be an entrepreneur or work in business because like you have these skills that you developed without knowing.
Hmm.
You don't have the maybe the business skills, but you have the values. I'll call them values.
Yeah, and the teamwork and all the other things you just said.
Yeah, like showing up on time or having that grit or
Hmm.
learning from failure, not just expecting to be successful in each and every day, right? The 10,000 hours, as they say, to
Hmm.
perfect something.
To
Like
master something. Yep.
yeah, you're like, okay, I don't know AI, but I'm gonna put that mindset. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna put, my nose to the ground and work hard and ask for help. As an athlete, you have coaches and entourage and people around you. So it was almost like a no brainer, I think, for me when I retired from hockey to go back to business school and go directly into the business of sports because I just
Hmm.
felt like I need to learn the skills, but I had these like intangible values that I knew could be applied to something. I was starting over, but I wasn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, it's pretty remarkable that you were, after the Olympics, then you went back to college, you played at Harvard, but then you were still, you're playing on the national teams, you were playing in the Olympics still. It's crazy to think to do all of that at the same time. It's pretty amazing.
I feel like I did better in school. I had more balance in my life. I wasn't as shaken up when I had more on my plate. Like I wasn't just like hyper focused on one thing, and
Yeah.
littlest thing would get me off. I'm like, okay, I'm playing hockey, but I'm maybe running this camp, or I'm traveling, or I'm volunteering, or I'm on a board, or I'm like I had other things that actually I think kept me busy, but more importantly kept me like grounded and more balanced, which is why I think I played so long.
Yeah. You didn't like overdo it in one spot, basically.
Yeah, think about like we're talking about business, like a banker who's spending 80 hours at their desk, just like dying inside. Like you can only
Yes.
do that for so long, and then you got to start to
Right.
incorporate a little bit more balance, variety, challenges that. So I get working hard, but it's like you can't work hard if you're playing the long game if you don't incorporate ways to kind of disconnect or add that balance. And that's what I think. That's why I played so long in my sport.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Like, I find I do better when I'm busier and all the things, right? And when you're like, how am I doing all this? But actually, it's like you just do better because, like, when you're doing the one thing, you're super focused. If one thing isn't going as well, you can kind of shake it off and move on to the other thing, or there's outlets. And, I totally relate to that in business too. We talk about that a lot on this show where people put all their eggs in one basket and they haven't diversified, not only in hobbies, but what's the second act? What's the backup plan? Right. And so, diversifying, like you
Yeah.
said, there's a lot of benefits to that many different ways.
Well,
So,
and that's why I think a lot of athletes, when they retire, they're completely lost. They haven't nurtured or developed or thought about like what else could I be. And I was always thinking about that. Like I'm a hockey player, but like I'm so interested in when I don't have to travel with my hockey bag, what am I going to do with my life?
no, I love that. And it's funny. I mean, it's not funny, but there's just so much out there now around this where so many ex athletes are trying to build foundations and programs and businesses around building that second act for
Yeah.
athletes. You see it a lot in the military world too. So I think they're sort of equivalent where this has been your identity, right? And you haven't thought about what else there is out there or, what else you're good at. But I mean, it's really important to be always like, what is the second act during the first act, right? So, or what's the next thing that you're sort of building in the background? So I mean, I think that totally applies to business too. So we talk a lot about that on this show. On the opposite side of that, what was your biggest failure as an athlete? And then how did that shape how you handle failure in business?
We lost the gold medal in 2002. Um, this is 4 years after winning the gold medal. We had the best, we were underdogs in 98, and we were by far the favorites in 2002. We were 33-0 that year, 8-0 against Canada. I mean, we spent 2 years training alone. And, we thought we could win, I think, on skill alone because we were the best team, but we didn't have a team. Like, looking back on it, we had so many unsaid things. We said, we'll still win with skill. We don't have to deal with all these hard conversations. So there were tensions, there were things that we didn't confront. And the culture of the team was night and day from the culture of the 98 team, which is interesting because I'd say 75% of the team was the same. But the conditions changed, the context changed. I mean, there was a lot of things that happened behind the scenes. We were battling with our national governing body for more pay because there was some issues there back in the day. And so it just wasn't a pleasant place, but we were that good. So I always think about that. We lost when we should have won because we couldn't come together as a team. And saying that to business, I'm like, you could have the best salesperson, you could have the best product, you could have the best go to market, you'd be first, you could have all the right ingredients, but the culture. So, they always say culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? This famous. I lived it, and I believe in that. I believe in that expression. Like, I think you need both. I think you obviously need a great strategy and team and all that. But like, if you're not building the right culture and saying the right things and confronting the hard and building that trust where you can work through the hard, when the tough, when those challenges happen in your business, you're not going to be able to work through them together. You're going to try to do it individually. That's what we did in that game. Everyone was trying to take the puck up the ice and do it on their own. And we weren't coming together, which is what it takes to win a gold medal. You have to play as a team. So learning about culture, I think, and then I got to kind of tease this out in other teams that I played on over the years. And just, I saw how important it was to have that collective goal and that the ability for everyone to play their roles and check their ego. And I saw success when we did that. And I'm like, that's what I want in any business I'm a part of in the future.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said check your ego, because I think that's a huge part of it, right? Is that to come together, you've got to check the ego a bit at the door, in business, athletics, all the things. So
I think you need a good leader to create those conditions for that culture, give permission for people to build trust first so they can call each other out and know you're not attacking, you're like trying to help actually the collective. And like, so it takes a lot of work. It doesn't just like come naturally.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I see that over and over in business too. So totally agree with that. So I want to shift to the company that you built. Walk me through it, but you kind of finished playing hockey at that point. You'd gotten the MBA. You saw a problem where, billion-dollar decisions in sports were being made with almost no real data. So walk me through what made you say, I need to build a company to fix this.
Yeah. One of my favorite classes at Harvard Business School was Clay Christensen, Innovator's Dilemma. He's like the godfather of innovation. And again, as an athlete for playing for 16 years, I was always trying to innovate my game, get better. It was a challenge. It was fun. But then I'm sitting I was actually the chief strategy officer of the LA Olympic bid, trying to win the rights to bring the games back to America. And we hired a consulting firm that didn't really understand the industry, kind of got smart on interviewing us. And I was on the board of the IOC at the time, the International Olympic Committee. And again, these like big, massive, strategic billion-dollar decisions felt like a lot of gut going into them, and intuition and not like hard data. And I'm sitting like around in these rooms and in these roles and going, God, I wish there was a sports innovation lab, the company I started. I wish there was this solution that we could call a team that had data, could advise us on strategy, that would understand the consumer, the fan. And it didn't exist. And so it was sort of, the entrepreneur in me is like, let's create it. And luckily had a great co-founder who was the data guy. That wasn't my background. But again, being an athlete, I'm like, all right, you play this role, I'll play this role. And we came together and started this company. And it was we were ahead of the market, unfortunately, like by many, many years. But in the last 5 or 6 years, as you know, like the market took off. People started understanding how important data was and knowing their fan and having that direct consumer relationship. So, we got bought by Genius Sports, a public company that's creating almost the operating system of sport. They have data across the game where we plug into their media ecosystem. We did a nice exit, but it was identifying a problem, honestly, that I wanted a solution for, and rather than just saying, "Oh, it's the worst that doesn't exist," I'm like, "Well, I'll create it."
Yeah, I love that. So what did that exit teach you?
Any entrepreneur that's starting, I'm like, it's hard. Building and scaling. I learned so much as a founder, CEO that, whether it's starting the company, raising the money, living through the pandemic when we lost almost every customer we had. Sports froze. Literally, sports froze, so contracts froze. And we were one of those suppliers that, got paused. But we kept every employee through that. We weathered the storm. It was hard. It took a toll, if you will. Um, but I still believed. I didn't give up. My co-founder Josh Walker and I just kept, look, this is needed in the market. This fan engagement. This industry is moving in a way that they're gonna need fan data. And so we stayed. It's like I thought back to all those years of training and how, that's the days that no one's looking, like that's what you remember. And exit is like the gold medal. Oh, you got, but it's the years behind that I actually remember more, and the conversations and the friendships and the clients and the people. So the exit's very similar. Like, yeah, we exited, but it's almost anticlimactic compared to everything else. So yes, I am proud of our
Interesting.
company. I am proud of where we landed, and Genius is a great company. But to me, it goes back to the journey again. Like for me, it's like, do you love what you're doing each and every day? Because you will show up early and stay late. You will be thinking about it in the shower. You will be like excited to come to work and like motivated to be around the people that you're there with, on your employees or your coworkers. And that's the same thing with hockey. Like when I lost that love or that motivation, it's like time to exit. And there were hard moments at Sports Innovation Lab, but we were able to weather that. Um and it kind of reveals your character in some ways, or builds your character. I think I'm a better person because of that. And it's rewarding too. At the end of the day, you're like, we did it.
Of
Yeah,
course. Yeah,
it's
of
great.
course.
And we're gonna
Yeah.
help a bigger company now be even better in a way that maybe they had a blind spot. We plugged in a nice way. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's that's why I'm like, what am I going to build next after I take a
I
break?
know. I was just gonna say, now are you motivated to do it again? Like, are you gonna chase that idea again? You know what I
Yeah, but
mean? To like build something and
yeah, Sammy, I'm trying. It's advice I give anyone. I'm like, you gotta love the thing you're doing. It's
right.
hard to. The hardest part of this to me isn't the work and the execution. It's that first step that I think too many
Is
people
finding it.
race through. Find it. Really slow down enough to like hear yourself, to feel what you're excited about. Get your tentacles out. I'm talking to everyone. I'm really interested in women's health right now, and longevity and technology and sports, and so I'm like learning again in a really cool way. And I'm yeah, it's I'd love to build again, but I'm not too anxious to go until I really have that feeling inside. And I recommend, college kids coming out of school, I'm like, or business people, I'm like, if you can pivot your career, no problem. Just like make sure you're doing for the right reasons and know what direction you're going intentionally, versus just I need to
Yeah.
change, right? And I think that hard work, that like internal work is really the work.
And I love what you said too about learning. Like we always say in the business world too, like you have to be learning based to be a great leader, to grow, to do all of that. So I love that you said you're just, you're trying to learn, because I think that's super important too. So for people listening out there that are like, I don't know what I'm super passionate about. I don't, I haven't gotten crystal clear as to what that is. Like, you just have to put yourself out there, like you described, and, learn and listen,
Totally.
right? Until, you feel something, like you said. So, another thing I want to talk about is that you sort of talked about a little bit, but just giving yourself permission to not be good at something right away. And I know, like, for you, you're a high performer. There's a lot of high performers out there. That's really hard to
Yeah.
not be at the top or the best at something. So, when you were building that company and, advice for people out there that are high performers, what's it like being a beginner again in something?
I love it. It's funny. Again, people see the success and the glossy LinkedIn posts and the things you're doing. But it's, to me, like, that's where growth happens, where you push yourself. And I loved pushing myself athletically when my Olympic career ended. It was academically. And so the idea that I can be a learner for life, and like, I don't have to go back to school, but I'm okay. It's hard to admit that.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because it is, right?
But I'm like, let me subscribe to masterclass, or let me take this LinkedIn learning thing, or let me go to this conference, or let me call my friend, or let me, like, there's resources available. Um, and I'm like a nerd. I love like finding something out I didn't know. But I'm trying to align my learning to, like, okay, my career, like, what could that be applied towards? So yeah, I am a high performer, 100%. I'm like a bad addiction to, like, what am I going to do next, and build and go. But it's not it's like, Sammy, I think it's because I feel like I believe in myself, and I'm giving myself permission to, like, wander a bit. And I think too many high performers are like, I'm only going to do the thing I'm good at tomorrow, and I'm going to take that career advance because it's like the next thing. And
Yeah, or they have to have it like all planned out, right? Where you're like open to kind of seeing where it all takes you.
but it's more of that, back to, like, enjoy the journey, willing to put in the work, understanding it's going to be hard, and getting excited that it's going to be, anticipating and being excited that it's going to be hard. Just like I anticipated getting cut from teams. I'm like, okay, I'm going to face gender discrimination in hockey. Great. Like, I wasn't surprised and baffled. I was just like, oh, that's where I'm at. So if I walk into, like, a room now and it's all men, I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, that's, like,
Hmm.
so it's like shifting your mindset as an elite athlete. Like, that literally is I think this is the separator between the good and the great, is you
Hmm.
constantly are playing head games with yourself. Believe it or not,
No, I agree with
you're
that.
convincing yourself you can win a medal. You're convincing yourself you can achieve something no one's done before. Convincing yourself you can start a company.
Well, you've got to, right? You've got to remove your limiting beliefs if you're going to do it. So
Yeah. So
that's
again,
exactly right.
I'm like, athletes make great, I think, entrepreneurs. Like, but I
They
think it's
do.
in everyone. I think this I wish more people had this, like, gift of, like, just believing in themselves and not overthinking it and not overanalyzing it and not self-doubting and not limiting what they can do in this world, because everything is your head, everything is your mind. And if you can quiet your mind and really just hear yourself and, like, believe
Hmm.
and apply. I'm, like, big on the whole mindset applied to success. And business is, like, where you see it come out a lot. Most founders, most leaders are like, nope, I'm going to put this on my back. I'm going to get these people and resources and support. You don't have to be the CEO. You can be a leader wherever you are in an
Hmm.
organization. I truly believe that. But, like, you can move mountains if you really believe it inside, and are willing to put in the work.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, you just like nailed on the head, like what I'm trying to do on this podcast. But, what I'm trying to do here is, taking that athletic mindset, like you said, the work ethic, the teamwork, the discipline, all those things that make somebody a champion and a great athlete. And you don't have to be an athlete to apply those concepts, right? So by having these conversations with people like you, it's like we get to hear
Yeah.
all these great tools that you have in the arsenal, right? But then
Yeah.
how do you apply those in the business world? You don't have to be an athlete. You just need to listen and do the same things in the business world. So that's,
But I think
I totally agree with you,
to me, it's like a life philosophy. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just the idea of, if you want to achieve something, whatever that is,
Hmm.
or set a goal, or, and that could be like your family life. I mean, it doesn't have to be like some
Yep.
big grandiose thing, but
Yep. It applies to everything. Yeah.
it's everything. It's
I
everything.
agree.
And I was
100%. Yeah.
lucky, honestly, that I learned it so young through sports.
You were
They're,
lucky because a
oh,
lot of
we,
people are trying to figure that out at like 40 or 50,
yeah.
right? Like,
I'm going, oh, wait, I can apply this formula anywhere. This is cool. Okay, let's go. And again, why I'm such a proponent of boys and girls playing sports at a young age.
so what's the hardest business decision you've had to make? And do you think your athletic background helped you handle that? I'm assuming so from the conversation we've had.
I mean, I'll revisit the COVID. I mean, I just had my son, and we were again losing money, and it was a tricky time for sports in general.
Yeah.
It's actually reflecting now. I remember we were like, how much runway do we have? And it was a tough period for everyone in the world, but for our company. And I was actually with my CMO at the time, Gina Waldhorn, and my co-founder, Josh Walker, and we were like, what if, and we came up with this great idea around women's sports, which
Hmm.
I have a huge passion for, but I'm like, no one's doing this thing. This will help us differentiate. It will make a difference. It will drive revenue. It will
Hmm.
change the course of the sports industry, honestly. And it was almost like our backs were against the wall, but we created something that could both do good, make an impact, but elevate our company and our brand and get us into rooms we didn't belong in. And so we started this initiative called the FAM Project, which was using data, fans' data, to tell the industry what was going on in terms of these
Hmm.
consumers. And voila, there's a market for women's sports. This was 6 years ago, and women's
Yeah.
was not trending at all. And I was like the only person saying you should be investing.
Yeah.
That ended up being super successful. I was with Ashlyn Harris and Sophia Bush yesterday. We did
Hmm.
still doing this stuff and talking about it, writing research. Thinking back to your question, a lot of hard decisions, but that was a moment I remember we could have kind of thrown in the towel. We got cut from the team, prove them right. This is the market conditions. Woe is me. This is the COVID. Who would have thought? Shut the company
Hmm.
down. But we were like, nope, we found a solution. We found a really interesting path for us, that kind of kept us relevant and brought in some clients. And yeah, that was a really interesting turning point for us. I think it took some of the good work we had done, but like moved it. And it was the three leaders of the company honestly coming together, being like, how are we going to solve this together? We sat in remember Josh's backyard, and we were like, how do we fix this? How do we solve this? How do we lead?
Hmm.
Could easily just shut it down. And that's hockey. That's like, okay, there are times when my team's down or we lost a game and we got to come back. We have to, but it's an intentional decision to come back and to put
Hmm.
the team on your back, put the burden on you, not point fingers. It's a great question though. Like I haven't really thought about that much of like, what went wrong? But then it was almost like I jumped right to like, well, what do we do
Fixing
about it,
it.
Taylor?
Right. What do you do about it? Yeah. I like another thing you said too, though, is when you're thinking about like creating the business and growing and all that, you were conscious of what the impact was. And I think that's really important for people when they're thinking about what is the next thing they're going to build, when they're maybe trying to get clear on what they're passionate about. I think thinking about what's the impact you're going to make
Yeah.
is really important because then it doesn't become about you, it becomes about them, right? And the impact you're making. And then everything else drives itself, right? So I always like, even in leadership, we always try to say, like, it's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah.
And then that changes your whole mindset around the hard days, the showing up, because it's not about you. It's about the impact, it's about them.
Totally.
So I love that too.
Yeah. You can see my Team USA jersey. Look,
Yeah.
the whole slogan was team first. And like, if you're tired,
Yep.
like, don't be late because you're going to disappoint your team. Don't never
Right.
put in your best effort because you're going to let
Right.
down your team. I say that to my boys, same thing. I'm like, there's you, but then there's the people you're on the team with. And if you can learn that, it's so much easier to get up for my teammates than for me half the time.
It's a mindset shift though, right? But I think if you can do that, it totally changes your perspective on everything, right? Like when you're like just exactly what you just said, the being late example, like, well, yeah, I'm going to be late, whatever, it's on me. But no, like if you think about it, like, well, it's about the team, you're letting them down. Well, then it's a whole different story, right? You got to get there on time.
Or I give a lot of motivational talks on like making clear you have your mission and your vision and your values. Again, big on culture, because as a leader, if you can point to that and your company can feel attached to the outcome and the output and the impact that you're having, the product you're building is going to change the world in this way and help like that's what I think a lot of people get motivated, not everyone, but I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm going to get up and go to work. Yes, I don't want to disappoint my coworkers and I need the paycheck, but like I believe in the thing we're doing and it's going to change society in this way." And that makes you feel good about the time that you're spending with that company. So I'm big on, the tie between like the product you're obviously creating for the world if you run a company or you're part of a company, but making sure your employees and your coworkers really understand what that mission and vision are and like what you expect and how your role in the company rolls up into like actually delivering on that. So you don't feel so
Yeah.
dissociated or detached, but can
From the
actually
outcome.
feel and see the part, you're part of that outcome. It's like
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
it's like, I remember my coach used to say, thank the bus driver. And you're like,
Yep.
what? Well, yeah, I'm polite. And he's like, no, 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 no. Like without the bus driver, you wouldn't be at this game. Like everyone contributed to the success of this game. It wasn't just you on the ice, it's everyone around you. And then if you have that mindset, like that person feels like they're part of it with you and they're more able to give back and contribute and show up early and stay late. And it's again, not just the salesperson or the CEO. It's like everyone has to roll into that collective success. That's where I think athletes again, and where I'm like, I want to be in environments where it's like team first and we're all, you know, rowing in the right direction. And yes, you have different players, but yeah, there's so many analogies. We could be here all day. Like
Oh,
sports.
that I love it though. Yeah, it's true though. You've obviously championed the women's sports business thesis that investing in women's sports isn't just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. And I love that. I
Right.
actually just saw this Nike sweatshirt the other day that said everybody's watching women's sports. I love it. And it's totally true. My 12-year-old son is like very into the WNBA right
Oh,
now. It's like it's just totally true, random but
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Um, so what does the data actually show? And, for the business people out there, what are brands still getting wrong when it comes to women?
Yeah, the data shows this consumer base is somewhat like the general pop sports consumer, but they're more avid, they're more tech savvy, they're more brand loyal. They love the athletes, they want more access to the athletes, they want more shoulder content. It's a slightly different product. So if you follow sports, I would say don't lift and shift, shrink and pink the men's model and be like, oh, it's the women's model. Be like, they're different consumers. And if you're building companies, you always have to understand your consumer. And so that's what my company did, Sports Innovation Lab, now Genius Sports, was like really understand the consumer so you can create better partnerships and create better products and build different strategies around it. So we were the first in the market to say, one, there's a business here. Look how awesome these consumers are. They spend more, they watch longer, they do all the things you want. Their lifetime value is higher. Like provided the data on that so that
Hmm.
investors and brands could be like, maybe we're missing something. And then advise on how to shift the business against it. I think we're in that era now, thankfully, where there's a lot of companies like ours now saying, "Oh, there's a business here," and now we're moving, and we see Caitlin Clark and the WNBA, which I invested in 2022, and everyone's like, "How did you get into that deal?" And I'm like, "No one was talking about the W
Yeah,
4 years
yeah, that
ago."
was
Like,
before. Yeah.
so again, see how quickly it's shifted, and so
Hmm.
we're not in the era of like we have to convince people there's a good business here.
Hmm.
We're in the era of like, well, what do we do about it, and how do you become a part of it, that ecosystem? And again, I'm super proud of that work because again, that decision happened back to your earlier question of like, no, we're going to be the voice of the women's sports market. No one's doing it. We're going to do it in a very sophisticated, data-driven way. That's what the business community will listen to, not woe is me and it's emotional and it's the right thing to do. Like, yes, it is, but like put that aside. Let's like go hard on business language.
Yeah.
So it's exciting that the business community is doing that. There's investors in women's sports now. And the proof is in what we see, sellout crowds, there's a first $1 billion valuation. The Valkyries that are a year old, part of the WNBA, are $1 billion overnight. I mean, this went like that. And told you so, but
You
again,
did.
back to mindset. Like if you are listening to this podcast and you have an idea or you have something that just like gets you up, follow that. That is the gem of life. Like follow the things that fire you up, because if I didn't have that thing in me, I wouldn't have maybe helped our company, wouldn't have provided all the data and insights and support to the women's sports ecosystem and built leagues and advise. We were advising the W 4 years ago. I mean, materially feel like we've made a big difference and I've made a difference, but it was because I listened to like that piece of myself. And I think there's too many, again, maybe that's your audience of like, if you feel that, it's when you're going to, it's where you're going to have the biggest impact, whatever
Yeah.
that is.
No, that's great advice. So if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing about what building a business actually requires, what would it be?
A lot of resilience, a lot of passion. Um, you're, it's fun though. It's a lot of fun. You get to create, you get to be creative, you get to be strategic. You have to have very high IQ and EQ. You get to combine both. But at the end of the day, it's all mindset. It's all believing in what, if you don't believe in what you're selling, no one else will. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. So to me, it's just having that unwavering support for you, the company you're building, and then sharing that with the world, convincing clients, investors, the consumer that they need to understand what's in your brain. So yeah, it's fun. I love being an entrepreneur. I love building. I love being creative. What would you say? You've interviewed so many people, Sammy. What would you say?
I mean, I think it's all those things you're saying. I think there's a lot of grit and discipline too. And I'm trying to think of like, what are those like what are the habits or principles from your athletic career that are translating? And I'm hearing everything that you're saying, and I think those all apply. And I think it's also, the habits, the discipline, the grit too that you have that then you just translate over. So I think it's all those things. It's a mix of things.
I think about this a lot. I think a company isn't a Everyone's like, "Oh, you're my family," and I'm like, I can't fire my brother. Like he's gonna be my brother for life. We get along, but a team, you can cut someone. Being a good leader is like keeping those parameters safe and cutting people, removing people, and bringing people in that fit into what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think people hold on to people for too long because they've gotten used to them or they have become like family, and then it makes it really complicated and difficult, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's great advice. I kind of want to wrap up by shifting a little bit to what you're doing to give back. So I read that you're still coaching on the ice through youth hockey camps with I think it's Pro Ambitions.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned serving on the IOC executive board, things like that. So what drives you to keep giving back at that level? And what are you working on right now in that space that you're most excited about?
Yeah, I think you've heard throughout this podcast my passion for sport, because I think it extends well beyond the arena. Like, granted, I won gold medals, but I learned about myself and all these intangibles that we've talked about today. So that's part of the reason I volunteer and serve on these boards. I'm currently on the board of World Rugby, sort of the feast of rugby. We're actually bringing the World Cup to America in 31 and 33. So stay tuned if you haven't seen a rugby game. It's a lot of fun.
I have, and it's getting bigger here.
Oh yeah, it's been growing. Yeah, I serve on a few boards. I do some consulting, strategy work right now, but I continue to give back the IOC, others, to hope to keep sport relevant, particularly at the youth level. I know the pro level, the sort of the commercial side. That I've been doing on my business side, but like, to what end? Like, it's not just to sell tickets. It's to be a great role model, right? If you can see it, you can be it. I didn't have any female role models, which is why I love having more women's sports visible. My boys, to have them have, WNBA or NBA, they don't know the difference. So like, sweet basketball.
Right.
It's great. I still coach my kids. I coach my kids' teams. So I try to just stay in touch, I guess, with that side, because sport changed my life. I mean, literally gave me everything. My family was not well off. I'm not silver spoon. We struggled as a family growing up. And I only got an education. I only got to do all the things I'm doing in this world because I had sport, and it opened so many doors for me. So I try to stay connected in that space to make sure girls and boys again have access. And yeah, it's sort of still will always be a passion of mine.
I do lots of that too, so I totally relate. And then just one last question. What does it mean to you to be a business MVP?
Well, thank you for the title, whatever that is.
You've earned it.
I think just bringing your best version of yourself wherever you are. And if you are in that lucky position where you have the gifts, you have the tools, you have the means, you have the agency, applying those to the good of the company you're a part of, the culture, the team. Honestly, I've seen too many MVPs that should have been MVPs that weren't. Again, talking sports analogy again, because they didn't apply themselves. So if you can be in that position and have all those gifts and resources and apply it, like I'll give you a trophy any day of the week.
I love that.
I don't know if that's a good answer.
No, that's a great answer. That's a great answer. I think it's whatever you think it is, right? But I think it's a great answer. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you so, so much. This has been amazing. I really enjoyed talking to you. I was like, wow, a lot of the things you were saying, I'm like, that really resonates. I love this. So I hope everybody listening, gets some great knowledge and nuggets from you. So thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Sammy. Thanks for having me.
And that's how champions think. Here are the key takeaways from my conversation with Angela today. The real question isn't whether you can win. It's what you build after you've already won. If you're making big decisions without real data, you're guessing. And guessing is expensive. And give yourself permission to be a beginner again. That's where the next breakthrough lives. If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone who's ready to think bigger, compete harder, and win in business. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if you haven't, leaving a 5-star review goes a long way in helping us grow and reach more leaders like you. You can also watch every episode on YouTube and follow along on Instagram and TikTok at Business MVP Podcast for more behind the scenes and insights. I'm Sammy Peterson. Thanks for being part of the Business MVP community. And I'll see you next time as we continue building you into an MVP in business and in life.